end up not really knowing what the cloud's all about. So what we're trying to do today is give you some hooks to put your conversation together, to roadmap your cloud strategy and really understand the basic mechanics of cloud and cloud computing and why that's going to be important to your organization as you go forward. Justin, if you would mute your mic there, son. So this is my favorite little cartoon about intelligent life and cloud computing, and obviously there are lots of versions of cloud computing and lots of perspectives on cloud computing, so we're going to try to clear some of those up today. So the first question people ask me is, what the heck is this cloud thing? And the basic definition of the cloud is it's IT assets delivered over the internet. It could be infrastructure, it could be platform, it could be software, it could be an entire suite of services. And what you see here is the building blocks of how to deliver services over the cloud. And I'll just walk through those briefly and give you some examples of what, for example, infrastructure as a service is. Some of you, and probably all of you at some point or another, have heard of Amazon EC2, the Amazon Elastic Cloud, and what they're doing in terms of selling off some of their infrastructure as a service, which basically means they're taking extra compute cycles and extra infrastructure and parsing it off and selling that to folks to build their own infrastructure on. The second building block around the cloud is platform as a service. And an example of that would be the Microsoft Azure and Salesforce. And the comment that I'll make about these first two is they're pretty technical infrastructures. They're pretty technical plays, and mostly the IT folks are the ones that are interested in infrastructure as a service and platform as a service in terms of bringing those into the IT lifecycle. For most of us, we tend to focus on software as a service and cloud-based managed services. If you're a medium-sized business or even a large business who wants to talk about taking pieces of your infrastructure or pieces of your IT operation and finding a way to stop watching blinking lights, which is a topic that I think is relevant to the cloud. So software as a service, we hear a lot about Office 365. I'll dig into the components of that in a bit and tell you why we think that's such an exciting platform. And then cloud-based managed services, we offer a product that we think is unique in the marketplace, where we take the cloud infrastructure and your business plan and put those things together in terms of creating a managed service SLA-based offering for you to really accomplish what you're trying to with IT. So a couple of things about cloud adoption. Why is this happening now? And I think it's important to know, because it's important to know why cloud is not going to go away. There are really kind of three components of, that are driving the cloud adoption. The first one, and I bolded it because it's dramatic in terms of what's happened here, and I've lived long enough to see this happen. I always use the Netflix benchmark, the first one about bandwidth prices have fallen dramatically. It's always interesting to me to look at bandwidth that's available out there and how it's ramped up in terms of its capacity, the speed of it, and how prolific it is. As an example of that, a movie that you stream today off of Netflix that cost you $270, or would have cost you $270 if you could even do it in 1998, is now 5 cents today. And that price is still falling dramatically. So we're getting to the point where you can assume that bandwidth is available everywhere, and the abstraction layer of the internet is available to all of us virtually everywhere we go. So bandwidth and the internet have really dramatically changed the game in terms of cloud and cloud adoption and made these things possible. The second driver in cloud adoption is Moore's Law. Now, Moore's Law is a principle that says the computing power it doubles or triples every 2 to 3 years, and the price drops by about half every year. What that means to you as a person or a company who's trying to implement technology is that every hardware purchase that you make is immediately obsolete. As soon as you buy a piece of hardware, it's immediately obsolete. It becomes literally a boat anchor after a period of time that you have to deal with. The cloud really makes that go away for you, and we'll talk about how that happens in just a few minutes. And then the third point that's driving cloud adoption is managing infrastructure is hard. I talk a lot about blinking lights and getting away from blinking lights and how important it is to to stop watching the blinking lights and start focusing on what's important to your business. What is it you really are trying to accomplish as opposed to uptime, downtime? So those are the three things that are really driving cloud adoption. And I'll just pause here for a minute and remind you that if you have questions as we go along, Justin's going to jump in based on what you type into the chat box or into the Q&A section. So please feel free to do that. And at the end of this, we'll open it up for questions. So what's in the cloud for me? You know, when I was a kid, I used to love staring at clouds. I think we probably all did, you know, and I put up a few of my favorite little cloud animals here. Obviously, there's cute little lion or tiger or cat or whatever that is there. For those of us who are Broncos fans, we tend to see, you know, something a little more exciting in the cloud these days, and hopefully we won't be looking to this kind of cloud for inspiration after it's all said and done. Hopefully the Broncos are going to be victorious on Sunday, and we won't have to worry about looking to the clouds for our inspiration around the sports. But for what's in the cloud for you, access to sophisticated IT services on demand. This is a core principle around the cloud and why it's a game changer for all businesses. Literally, you can pay only for what you need when you buy services through the cloud. You can accelerate deployment times. We'll talk in a minute about what the principles are for CIOs going into this year and what's important to them. But the life cycle of something that a project you're trying to get off the ground to implement a new ERP system or a new email system or even a new chat system can really be accelerated if you rely on cloud and cloud-based infrastructure to do that deployment for you, because the ramp-up times are so quick. And then the last bullet point that is important, you can concentrate on managing your service level agreements rather than blinking lights. Now, service level agreements are the way that you contract with your providers. Ross is a provider of cloud infrastructure. We also provide managed services. There are lots of cloud providers out there. You know, I mentioned a few of those earlier. But what you want to focus on in dealing with those cloud infrastructures is what service they're providing you in terms of uptime, downtime, response times for trouble tickets, response times for new projects, those kinds of things. So what's in the cloud for you? Again, on demand, pay for what you need, accelerate your deployment times, and you are able to shift your focus to service level agreements versus watching blinking lights. This slide is about, there was a survey done by CIO Magazine, which is one of the preeminent publishers in the technology space. They asked the CIOs what was the most important things that they saw on their radar screen for this year. And if you look at these, I won't read them all to you, but if you look at them, you see a common theme. The common theme is, how do I deal with changing the game and get more involved with what's important to my business? This last bullet point of reorganizing and retrain the IT group to better align with business outcomes and drive innovation is kind of the synthesis of all of those things. How do I really stop watching blinking lights and really get connected to my business and what's important to them and quit talking about bits and bytes? So the cloud can really address and resolve all of these things in terms of the things that the top CIOs in the country said were important to them this year. And if you look through this list, you'll see things that are probably important to you as even a small or medium-sized business. These things are all important, probably even more so in terms of getting aligned with what the business is trying to achieve. So I'm going to go through some cloud strategy by the numbers. You know, when people ask you what the cloud is and what part of the cloud you're adopting and how you're implementing the cloud in your business, there are three basic structures that you need to understand. The first of those is the commodity cloud, or you tend to think of these as things that are generally available through web browsers and easy to sign up or easy to use. A good example of the commodity cloud, and I think of the commodity cloud as something everyone should be paying attention to, regardless of the size of the business that you are. You can scale these commodity offerings up to the largest enterprise or implement them in the smallest enterprise because of the pay-as-you-go structure of these offerings. So Microsoft 365 is an offering that gets a lot of attention nowadays because it's a bundle from Microsoft that allows you to do get out of the business of managing email. All of your Exchange servers are done by Microsoft. You don't have to worry about keeping those Exchange servers up and running. You don't have to worry about patching them. Basically, you can offload all of that email management to the cloud on a pay-as-you-go basis per seat. Things like Lync and Screen Share and instant messaging and even telecommunications is a part of the Office 365 package. and there's a lot of information we can provide to you for those who are interested separately about the various structures of these packages and what the price points are for those. They range anywhere from $19 a month up to about $25 a month for each person. And when you do the math on that, it's very compelling in terms of going out and buying a $20,000 or $30,000 server versus $25 a month for each person. SharePoint Online is a part of this commodity cloud offering that Microsoft Office 365 provides. Out-of-the-box functionality for SharePoint. SharePoint gets a lot of buzz in the industry right now as a way to manage documents and construct workflows. Enterprise Social through tools like Yammer allows you to create that social buzz within your organization in a private way, so you don't have to worry about your internal corporate communications wandering around on the internet in a free form. It actually validates, and you have to log on to Yammer, so it stays inside your organization in terms of the communication that goes on there. But it very much uses a social platform. The file folder conundrum is solved by SkyDrive, which is now OneDrive, by the way. Microsoft lost one of the few legal battles that they lost in the past few years to an organization that was using SkyDrive moniker. So now SkyDrive has been rebranded as OneDrive, but it's storage in the cloud. So all of those files that you always used to worry about, how could I get to my work files when I'm at home and vice versa, if you use the product that's included with Microsoft Office 365 called OneDrive now, all of those files are available to you wherever you are. An example of this is I have a Microsoft Surface that I carry. I use a Lenovo desktop. I have my iPhone, my iPad. I can access and update files from anywhere on any of those platforms, and they're updated immediately and don't have any delay. There are other platforms out there in the commodity cloud that are popular. Google Docs is a pretty popular platform. They continue to add to that platform. It's less enterprise, but it is certainly out there. It is quote-unquote free for the most part. Things like Dropbox is a subscription service, as is Basecamp. The primary characteristic of all these commodity cloud offerings is that they're out-of-the-box functionality. So if you're pretty much ready to use Exchange, email, and Outlook the way it comes out of the box, you don't have any integrations with corporate line of business systems, you can use these Office 365 offerings pretty much straight out of the box. This is called a software as a service model, which was what I talked about earlier in terms of that stack. It's an easy model for a business of any size to adopt. So I talk about the commodity cloud as something that everyone should be paying attention to. The second pillar of the cloud and your cloud strategy should be taking a look at the hybrid cloud. And this is where you start looking at things in your application suite and in your infrastructure on an opportunistic basis to start moving things to the cloud. This is the bridge, if you will, to moving towards the cloud. You may have an existing infrastructure that has a lot of capital expense and it's not fully depreciated. You might want to, as the opportunity emerges, look at taking pieces of your infrastructure as these things come up for investment and moving those things to hybrid arrangements and create some elasticity between your on-premise IT infrastructure and the cloud. This is a very common approach that larger organizations are using right now. They're using hybrid cloud arrangements to add computing power and storage and even network power to their existing infrastructures, with the idea of eventually moving most or all of their compute infrastructure to the cloud where it's appropriate. It lets them keep mission-critical data and applications close, and it is the commodity cloud services plus connectors is the language that I used here. So you can use things like Office 365. You can have those tools dip into your databases that are in your on-premise databases or your proprietary databases or your Excel spreadsheets, for example, and you can move those things and surface those things through these hybrid cloud arrangements by connecting the dots through these business connectors. So you've got, in the hybrid cloud, you've got a combination of your on-premise IT infrastructure plus cloud components. The solution sets tend to be complex here in terms of needing someone to help you pull those things off in terms of the integration. If you have an IT staff, they can also address that. or you can look to someone like Ross Group to come in and help you to do that integration work. It's the same kind of integration work that you would do if you had all of your infrastructure on-premise. It's just a matter of integrating the right cloud components to make that happen. So in the hybrid cloud world, you've got out-of-the-box functionality plus custom integrations. And down at the bottom here, I said it's infrastructure as a service plus platform as a service plus managed services as part of that component. And the third component, or the third pillar of the cloud that you need to be paying attention to, is the private cloud. These are mission-critical applications, transactional systems if you're in the banking financial services world, or if you process transactions that are subject to HIPAA or Sarbanes-Oxley, or you've got a large ERP system or some kind of proprietary CRM, you're going to be looking at private cloud. Private cloud is essentially taking your on-premise infrastructure and moving it to a cloud-based infrastructure at a data center with someone like us helping you to manage that infrastructure on an SLA basis. Basically, the idea here is to get out of the business of investing in the blinking lights, so you're not buying servers every 3 to 5 years. You just trust someone like us to take that on an SLA basis, help you do that integration and manage it in the data centers that we provide. We're able to provide access to data centers that normally only very large institutions have access to, because we're able to aggregate that across our client base. So these things are custom applications, again, things that are highly regulated, places where you have what's called a 5 nines SLA, or a service level agreement that says these things essentially have to be up all the time, 24/7, and there's no tolerance for downtime or for outages. So to summarize these things, basically what I always tell clients as we're going through this conversation about what do I need to do about the cloud, is no two clouds are the same, and no different than looking up at the sky outside your door. No two clouds ever look alike, and every situation is a bit different. What you need to do is focus on your business problem. What is it you're trying to accomplish? How sustainable does it need to be? What's the lifespan of it? And you really need to focus on your provider selection. Who's my partner as I go into the cloud, and who's going to help me select these 3 different components of the cloud, or different approaches to the cloud, and pick the best choice for me. So I always talk about developing core competencies internally and relying on your partners there. But the best advice that I can give here is pick your partners wisely. We have been implementing the cloud for the better part of 5 years now in terms of delivering that to our clients. We were early adopters of the Microsoft cloud in the commodity space. We've been doing the hybrid clouds and private clouds basically since they've been available. So pay attention to who your partners are there, because it can be technically complex, and there are as many stories about successes as there are failure, and you need to be sure who your partners are. So how do you go about defining your cloud strategy? What should you do with this information about you've got commodity cloud, hybrid cloud, private cloud? How do you do something in your organization to make this actionable? The first step is to address the no-brainers, or the just do it, just the Nike strategy here. There are some things in the commodity cloud space that you should just be doing, really without question. It doesn't really make sense to have a lot of discussion about it. And one of those is getting out of the messaging and email business. There are so many providers out there that do a great job of managing email, and specifically around Exchange and Outlook clients. You can outsource that to Microsoft through the Office 365 suite for a few dollars a month, literally. And if you balance that against what it takes to keep a server up and running, buy new servers every 3 years, and or have people do the break fix on an Exchange server when things do happen there, the economics of it are really compelling. So I always advise people, the first place you should look at the cloud is get out of the email management business. The second place, or the second no-brainer that I always think about, is in the collaboration space. You need to make sure that you're able to access your documents anywhere, anytime, on any device. There are many ways to do that. I always tend to come back to Office 365 because it's the most integrated platform for doing that. You can save your documents out of Word directly into your SharePoint space if you're using Office 365. You can post them to your Yammer corporate intranet. really create a strong collaboration infrastructure through these commodity cloud infrastructures. And there are others out there. I happen to think the strongest one is Office 365. They kind of dominate that space because everyone tends to use either Word, PowerPoint, Excel, those tools, and the integration there is very strong, especially as you get into the 2013 platforms there. So the third one kind of deals with the same thing, the corporate social environment, get the word out, build intranets and extranets. Every company should have an intranet, extranet now because, really what I hear most often when I go into clients to try to address what their biggest pain points are, I hear we can't find anything. We can't find this document or that document, or we don't know where that procedure went, or where the most current version of this or that is. If you build these commodity-based cloud infrastructures where you can get to anything, anytime, anywhere, people are more prone to make sure that you're surfacing the most current documents and the most current information is available. So that first pillar of action for you to take away from this conversation today is do the no-brainers. Take the Nike approach, just do it in this area. The second area of your cloud strategy ought to be connecting dots. The first bullet point here is search is the killer app. Literally, we have all grown to expect that we are able to behave like Google or Yahoo or Bing in terms of finding something. We all expect to go to a search box. We expect to type in a few words, a few keywords about what we're looking for, and we're expecting that whatever system that we're working with to surface that information and allow me to take action with that. There are a number of platforms here. Again, I tend to go back always to the 365 and SharePoint environment. There are also some on-premise installations of SharePoint that help you eliminate folder fatigue. You get out of the model of the typical file folder structure that most people have on their desktop of, here's my PowerPoint presentations. Oh, here's the PowerPoint presentations around client A. Oh, here's the PowerPoint presentations within client A about project 1, and and within project 1, here's version 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So you're already 6 layers deep into a folder structure. What you find is that 3 months later, you can't remember where you put it, and certainly no one else can find it. So we think of search as the killer app, and connecting the dots using search is very critical to all of our clients these days in terms of implementing cloud strategy. We also talk about using integrated tools here. The power of being able to edit a document in your word processor, save it automatically to a space that is automatically shared by all, and have everyone who is interested in that document automatically notified when something has been changed there that's of importance to them can't be understated. So utilizing integrated tools from the desktop all the way through the back end and how you store documents and how you create your workflows is critical in connecting the dots as you implement your cloud strategies. It's also critical to pay attention to mobile platforms. It's not mobile, but my spell check didn't work there. But pay attention to mobile platforms and small footprint devices. I think it's telling for me in terms of when I look back at the demographics of when people access our sites and our resource pools, just how many of them are accessing them from small footprint devices, whether it's an iPad or a Surface or even phones and tablets. More than half of those accesses are coming from those platforms. And so people really want to be able to use those just like they're using their desktops, and they want to be able to participate in workflow from wherever they are. That may say something about us as a society that we're editing documents during our dinner dates, but that's a whole other topic. But people want to be able to participate in that workflow with any device that they have in their hand. So pay attention to those as you're starting to connect the dots. Pick your platforms based on the accessibility to those small footprint devices. The last point there in connecting dots is capture knowledge and make it accessible. It's very, very much the same thing, that you need to not just capture documents and put them in file folders. You need to capture the social conversation that's going on about your company. You need to capture updates on information as they come around. Make sure that people can get to the information that's in its most current form, and that everybody who needs to know something is informed about it in a timely manner. So second pillar of what your action list needs to be today is to connect the dots. And the final pillar of your action list today is stop watching blinkers. Literally, I mean stop watching blinking lights. The power of the cloud is that you can get out of the business of watching that server that's in the corner or in your server room or in your data center. You can quit worrying about whether those lights are blinking or not. You can outsource that application management, the patching of the operating system, the hardware, and all of that to a cloud partner. And you can pick a cloud partner like the Bross Group, who bases everything that we do on infrastructure as a service and platform as a service, and then we build on top of that with our managed service platform. Focus on your service level agreements instead of whether the lights are blinking or not. A common problem that we find with small to medium-sized businesses is that we'll walk in and they'll say, you know, we've got 2 or 3 or 5 or 20 IT people, and we don't have all the skill sets that we need, even though we keep adding to the IT staff. What you really want your IT staff to do is focus on the business plan and enabling that business plan and get out of the business of watching blinking lights. The power of the cloud lets you do that. You need to think of your computing assets, your servers and your storage and your network and your compute infrastructure as a utility. Years ago, we talked about the cloud in the terms of really it's like the electric company. You don't really think about when you plug into the wall socket where that power was generated. It could have been generated 5,000 miles away or 500 feet away. You don't know or care. All you know is that when you plug in, you want it to provide you a certain service level at a certain wattage, certain amperage, certain cycles, and it does. And that's what the cloud is really, the metaphor for the cloud is that sort of paradigm. Think of computing assets as utilities that you can just plug into. So if you think about the no-brainers, attack those first. Build your strategy around connecting the dots, and really focus on getting out of watching blinking lights. As you adopt your cloud strategy, you'll be successful. I wanted to point out the benefits of engaging a cloud partner. The classic definition of the cloud really kind of stops at platform as a service, but that forgets the human factors that are important in bringing a partner to bear that lets you adopt the cloud in a rational, reasonable, accelerated way. So if you engage a managed services partner like the Bross Group, we can help you accelerate your cloud adoption. We can help you define and improve your service levels. So if you're having issues with what your capital expenditures need to be for the next iteration of what your IT infrastructure needs to look like, we can help you rationalize that, do assessments around that, and help you understand what your roadmap and strategy needs to be there for the next 3 to 5 years. We can, more than anything, we can help you connect the dots between your business plan and what you're looking for IT to help you do. It's very easy to get into the nuts and bolts of talking about storage and computing and the blinking lights and uptime, downtime, when you really, as a business owner or business participant, really want to be talking about here's what we want to accomplish as a business next year and in the out years going forward. If you adopt the cloud and you engage a managed service partner, you can really take the ongoing management of the IT ecosystem to a different level. It doesn't mean you won't have that conversation because it's part of your business plan. None of us can accomplish our business goals without technology, but you can really change the way that conversation occurs as you're managing your IT ecosystem. You can optimize your staff and technologies and really flatten the IT cost curve. If you think about if you've been in business for more than 5 years, the conversation about, okay, the server that I bought last year, 2 years, 3 years ago, now needs to be replaced. If you can switch that from a capital expenditure conversation to a monthly buy and pay for it as I need it conversation, it changes the economics of your business and the investment curve that you need to make to keep IT a vital part of your business. And we simplify is our mantra for what we're doing with our businesses and our clients. We really take that approach to the cloud as well.
Hey Rick?
Yes.
Could I cut in? We do have a couple of questions really quick.
Sure, go right ahead.
We have a question, could you address security concerns with using cloud services as well as compliance in the cloud like HIPAA?
So I'll address those two things separately. The security, here's my kind of rhetorical response to the security concerns, is there are no more and no fewer concerns about security in the cloud than there are with an on-premise installation of technology. If you have an on-premise installation of your servers and network and infrastructure, you have to do a number of things. One thing you have to do is you have to buy the right kind of security hardware. You have to have somebody who can configure it and keep it current. You have to have the right subscription to get the right files that you need to download to detect and understand what to do with viruses and those sorts of things as they occur. If you take advantage of a cloud infrastructure, you're outsourcing all of that to somebody who's got a lot more resources. For example, how many of us have the same resources that a Microsoft has to make sure that our Exchange servers don't get infected with viruses? I can guarantee you that Microsoft has a lot more resources from an R&D perspective and from an SLA perspective than any of us or all of us collectively have to make that happen. So I never think of the security. I'm a CISSP, which means I'm a security geek. That's just to simplify that phraseology. So I understand that there's a lot of buzz around the industry as that, things are less secure in the cloud. From my perspective as a security professional, I would tell you, I am concerned about it. I'm no more concerned about it, and probably actually less concerned than I am when I walk into a client and they show me a server room that has 6 servers in it, and the firewall hasn't been updated in 6 months, and there's nobody on staff who really understands event management or incident management or that sort of thing. So I'll take that. I'll leave that as the answer for that, and then we can circle back if there's additional questions there. The second part of that, in terms of HIPAA, Starbucks, those kinds of things, and compliance around those areas, and even things like e-discovery. So if you're a law firm, you've got e-discovery requirements. In other words, you have to be able to archive emails and make sure that no one has changed them or deleted them. There are certified platforms in, for example, the Microsoft Office 365 platform for Exchange. You can select an e-discovery option so that every email is archived in a compliant way that meets all of the e-discovery benchmarks for e-discovery around the legal environment. And so if you're a company that's subject to e-discovery and archiving, you can certainly meet that even in the cloud. Things like HIPAA get a little more complicated, and I generally refer those folks who are subject to HIPAA and even some of the more things like FINRA or some of the more SEC type environments. I tend to refer them into private cloud arrangements, which are essentially managed in the same way that you would manage an on-premise infrastructure from a security perspective. You put the best firewalls and best personnel around event management and making sure that the perimeters are secure around your environment there. So hopefully that answers that. If it doesn't, we can circle back. Were there other questions you want me to address?
Yeah, I have one more. What companies or technologies are you aware of that allow for cross-device workflow management and approvals?
So I'm going to make an assumption about cross-device workflow management to mean that you want to be able to participate in workflow and initiate workflow from any device, literally from your cell phone, from your tablet, from your desktop, that sort of thing. So that's the assumption I'll make in answering the question. There's at least one that I'm aware of, and we're very active in doing development around. We use SharePoint in that environment. We, in some cases, use some add-on tools to make that happen. There are products, K2 and Mintex, that allow you to design workflow forms and workflow structures that surface and look native on any device. So if you design a workflow that's, let's just take the classic example of a time off request. It looks different on your desktop than it does on your phone, than it does on your iPad, because the platform is designed to create a native-looking experience on any of those from one development platform. Again, that lives on top of SharePoint, and it's tools that you can assemble very easily, certainly with the help of somebody like us to help you pull those things together and accelerate your workflow development and make that a part of your enterprise. So there's some great tools out there. Most of those tools are really focused on paying attention to mobile as well, so that the experience you have is native, regardless of the platform. Something else, Justin?
All we got for now.
Okay, great. So from a managed services perspective, there's lots of reasons to go with a managed services partner. We don't want your cloud to look like this guy. What I thought I would do is give you a couple of examples of how the cloud adoption strategies have worked at various places. These are a couple of our clients who have agreed to allow us to use them as case studies, and I know that Justin's put a download link on this presentation that you can go download more information about these organizations, and these are just two dozens, if not scores of folks that we've done this kind of work for in the last few years using these kinds of tools that we talked about. So Water Research Foundation is an organization focused on water quality. They're an international organization based here in Denver. They have about 60 employees. They are their SKU, their inventory, if you will, is research reports and research activities around water quality. So they really work to facilitate the conversation and the research about water quality on an international basis. And they're housed here in Denver, but they work all over the world and have research teams all over the world. We put together for them a hybrid cloud infrastructure that addresses everything from their intranet, meaning how they operate internally and how they move documents around and have the conversation about how they're conducting research, how they're accounting for these federally funded projects in some cases, some privately funded, all the way out to their public website, which is really I think of it as their FedEx truck. The way they deliver their research is to their subscribers is through their public website, which is a digital platform based on SharePoint for all their digital assets. That public website has kind of two personas, if you will. One of those is the general public, so anyone can go to www.waterrf.org. You can look at research that's publicly available out there. You can type in something like filtration at the search bar. You can see what kinds of research is available on filtration. You can download those things to the extent that they're publicly available, and that's all done through a SharePoint publicly surfaced website. There's also another persona to that digital platform, which is subscriber-only information. So we've constructed that website in such a way that you log in as a subscriber. There's intellectual property and digital assets there that is available to subscribers only, and they've pretty much eliminated the old paradigm of sending out a hard copy of something to their subscribers, because all of this now is available digitally. It's secure, and it's limited to subscribers only. We also integrated into the digital platform their ERP system, which is Solomon, and that's how they do all of their accounting, including their project accounting for federally funded projects. They have what's known as an AMS system. For any of you who may be in the membership management space, that's association management system. It's essentially their CRM system for keeping up with who their members are and and building that membership base. They have an AMS system that's integrated with all of this digital platform in such a way that that's where we go to validate that you're a member, that your subscription is correct, and so forth. They also have lots of internet applications, including collaboration platforms that they use with their research teams, who are scattered all over the world, frankly, in terms of building research, facilitating that process, doing the project management work that's done there, and really building a publishable product in terms of a digital asset based on these distributed teams that work all around the world. Again, all of that, really the core of all of that is built on a SharePoint, both on-premise and cloud-based installation. And of course, they do document management and collaboration there as well. So I'll wait and see if there are questions about that in a few minutes. Financial Planning Association is another membership-based organization that has a hybrid cloud. Actually, it's several public websites that are surfaced and built on top of a SharePoint platform. That's a SharePoint 2013 environment, which is the new version of SharePoint, which is even more powerful than the ones we were using 2 years ago. They have one FPA, onefpa.org is their public website. Again, another membership management kind of paradigm in that some of the content is public, other content is membership only. They also have a Find a Planner or plannersearch.org, which is designed for the consumer to go out and find a local planner with the specific characteristics that you're looking for based on zip code searches and that sort of thing. So those are two publicly available websites there that we built in the cloud, used a hybrid cloud infrastructure for that. And by hybrid, I mean it actually integrates with their Great Plains software, which is their ERP system, and various microsites that they use for marketing. They use Office 365 extensively there for their kind of out-of-the-box functionality around SharePoint and Exchange. All of their Exchange and Outlook email boxes are managed there. Currently, I believe they're managing 150 or so, if you count all of the distribution boxes and all of that. So very capable, and I've seen the Exchange Online handle hundreds and hundreds of accounts, so no concern about scalability there. So I wanted to give you a couple of examples of the correct cloud strategies at work. We have dozens of these that we can certainly provide and are happy to do so. So I'm kind of coming to the end of the time here in terms of the time I've allocated for this. What I wanted to make sure of today is you had something to kind of hang your hat on as you're having these conversations with your peers, with your coworkers, with your bosses, with your technology people around how do I get my head around the cloud? We don't want you to end up like this guy. And it really, it's a complicated topic, but if you just think about it in terms of the commodity cloud, hybrid clouds, and private clouds, and the appropriate place to use each one of those, there is not a single solution that fits everyone. It needs to be looked at based on your individual specific situation. Think about those things that I said earlier that everyone ought to be addressing, which is Office 365, get out of the Exchange and Outlook business, figure out how to implement these corporate networks, social networks that are closed around with tools like Yammer and those products, and start building your document and killer apps search technology using something like SharePoint Online. So that's the end of the time that I have. If there are questions, there's some contact information here. I'm going to turn it back over to Justin and see if there are any other questions.
All right, thanks, Rick. We do have another question. Since cloud services rely on network connectivity, does BROS review an organization's network reliability / vendor to ensure maximum uptime?
Yes, we do. And part of the work that we've done, certainly with the two examples that I gave you, Water Research Foundation and Financial Planning Association, a lot of that work started with assessment work around not only their network infrastructure, but their computing infrastructure and the people that are helping to support it, and what the best strategy is for augmenting and extending and making that more elastic than it might be today. I don't think he would mind, but I'll give you an example. One of our clients is Professional Ski Instructors Association, the snowpros.org. They were originally housing their websites in their corporate location, which was fine for them for a period of time. But what they found out was that they were, in a location that didn't have access to the bandwidth that was needed to make their website scale. So we were able to pretty quickly take a look at that, move their website hosting to the data center, and they're getting the corresponding performance improvements by having done that. Our data center, I helped build it about 15 years ago, so I'm pretty happy with what I see. That's one of the reasons I built the products we have at BROS around that. I know how much bandwidth goes in and out of that location, and it's essentially infinite based on the number of customers that are there. So based on our data center, we'll never have that problem. But yes, we do look at that as a part of the whole picture, because you've accurately assessed there that one of the drivers is bandwidth everywhere all the time, and more is better in that regard. One of the things that we can just a sidebar, one of the things we can thank the bubble for is all the bandwidth that we currently have. You know, some of us were around in the old days when the telecom companies were putting fiber in the ground faster than we should have been. But the upside of that is we all have a lot of bandwidth available to us for a very low price. Again, that benchmark of in 1998, it would have taken $275 to download a movie off of Netflix that takes 5 cents now, and that price is dropping even more quickly. So, yes, good question.
Any other questions, anyone?
I think we could probably open the mics up if you wanted to, if people are more comfortable asking without typing, but or just send us an email and let us know what your questions are. We're happy to address those. So if there are no other questions, I'll turn it back over to Justin. Thank you all for spending your lunch hour with us. Hope it's been profitable for you. Give us a call if we can help in any way. We love talking to people about the cloud because we see it as a game changer for businesses going forward.
Okay, thanks, Rick. And one quick last housekeeping kind of thing is I do want to thank everyone for coming on today. I know we're going to be addressing some pretty major topics over the next few months, so we're going to have one of these going out roughly every month. And it's going to be a very technical topic typically, and we'll have some great speakers, if not Rick. So look for those kind of communications coming out to you guys. And again, look for kind of a follow-up email as well, just to see if we can help in any way. I also want to say we do have a survey at the end of this, so if you guys could be so kind to fill that out so we can make these the best webinars we possibly can and provide you the best knowledge we possibly can, and we would greatly appreciate that. So without further ado, again, thank you for everyone for coming on, and we look forward to having you next time.